The cold wind bit at Anna's cheeks as she hurried down the busy street, clutching her violin case to her chest like it was the most precious thing she owned. And in many ways it was. The worn leather case held not just her grandfather's old violin, but also her only remaining hope. Anna pulled her thin jacket tighter around her shoulders. November in Chicago was unforgiving, and the light drizzle that had started falling only made the chill cut deeper. She glanced at her watch, 7:30 p.m. Bella Luna would be in the middle of their dinner rush now. Perfect timing, she thought, trying to ignore the nervous flutter in her stomach. 3 months ago, Anna's life had been completely different. She'd been finishing her final year at the music conservatory, practicing 6 hours a day and dreaming about the symphony auditions coming up in spring. Then came the phone call that changed everything. Her mother back in New Mexico had collapsed at work. The diagnosis came quickly. Stage 3 cancer requiring immediate treatment. Without siblings to help and her father long gone, Anna had no choice. She withdrew from school with just 1 semester left, packed what she could fit in 2 suitcases and moved back home. The medical bills piled up quickly, even with insurance. Anna took whatever work she could find, cashiering at the grocery store in the mornings, giving piano lessons to neighborhood kids in the afternoons, and waiting tables at night. For 2 months she'd barely slept. The exhaustion had settled into her bones, becoming a constant companion. But it had been worth it. The treatments worked, and last week, the doctor had finally declared her mother stable enough for Anna to return to Chicago and try to salvage what was left of her music career. What? The doctor didn't know. What Anna hadn't told anyone was that the money was gone, all of it. Her savings, her tuition refund, even the small emergency fund her grandfather had left her when he died. She'd spent her last $20 on bus fare back to the city, convinced she could find work quickly. But a week of rejections had proven her wrong. Anna paused outside Bella Luna, peering through the steamy windows at the warm glow inside. The restaurant was one of the most popular Italian spots in the city, known for its authentic cuisine and the occasional live music. She'd eaten there once, a splurge with friends to celebrate getting into the conservatory's competitive string program. Her stomach growled loudly, a painful reminder that she hadn't eaten anything but half a granola bar since yesterday morning. Her apartment, if you could call the tiny room she was subletting an apartment, had nothing but tap water and a few tea bags in the kitchen. Her first paycheck from anywhere would be at least 2 weeks away, even if she got hired tomorrow. She simply couldn't wait that long. The idea had come to her while she was practicing her violin, the one thing she still did religiously despite everything. People played for tips in subway stations all the time, but tonight was too cold and wet for street performing. That's when she remembered Bella Luna sometimes had musicians on weekend nights. Anna took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and pushed open the heavy wooden door. The warm air inside hit her like a wave, carrying the scents of garlic, tomato sauce, and freshly baked bread. Her empty stomach clenched painfully. The restaurant was packed, every table filled with well-dressed people enjoying steaming plates of pasta and glasses of wine. A young hostess looked up from her podium, taking in Anna's damp hair and worn clothes with a quick, assessing glance. "Do you have a reservation?" she asked, her tone making it clear she already knew the answer. Anna shook her head. "No, I was hoping to speak with the manager, actually." The hostess raised an eyebrow but reached for the phone on her podium. "Tony, there's someone here to see you." She hung up and pointed toward the bar. "He'll meet you over there." Anna nodded her thanks and made her way carefully between the crowded tables, very aware of her shabby appearance among the restaurant's elegant decor and well-heeled clientele. She found a small empty space at the end of the bar and waited, still holding her violin case protectively. "What can I do for you?" Anna turned to find a tall, broad-shouldered man watching her with impatient eyes. His crisp white shirt and black vest marked him as staff, and the way other employees glanced his way confirmed he was someone in charge. "Are you the manager?" Anna asked, her voice coming out smaller than she intended. "Tony Ricci, general manager. And you are?" "Anna Vasquez." She shifted the violin case slightly in her arms. "I was wondering if you might be interested in some live music tonight." Tony glanced at the violin case, then back at her face. "We book our musicians weeks in advance and we're not looking for new people right now." "I understand, but I thought maybe just for tonight." Anna swallowed hard. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford anymore. I would be willing to play in exchange for a meal. There was a moment of silence before Tony's expression changed. The corner of his mouth twitched, and then he actually laughed, a short, sharp sound that felt like a slap. Anna felt heat rise to her cheeks. Play for food? What is this, medieval times? He shook his head, still smiling in a way that didn't reach his eyes. Look, miss, this is a high-end establishment, not a soup kitchen with entertainment. A few nearby staff members had stopped to listen, and Anna saw one waiter smirk and whisper something to a busboy, who snickered in response. The humiliation burned through her, settling like a stone in her empty stomach. Our customers pay good money to eat here, Tony continued, his voice carrying just enough for several nearby diners to turn and stare. They expect professional service and atmosphere. We hire real musicians through proper channels. The emphasis on real stung worse than the cold outside. Anna had been playing violin since she was 4 years old. She'd won regional competitions as a teenager. She'd earned a scholarship to one of the best conservatories in the country. How had she ended up here, being laughed at by a restaurant manager who probably couldn't tell Bach from Beethoven? I am a real musician, Anna said quietly, fighting to keep her voice steady. I studied at the Chicago Conservatory of Music for 3.5 years. I'd be happy to audition for you right now. Tony's expression softened slightly, but he shook his head. That's not how this works. We have standards, procedures. If you want to leave your contact information, I can add you to our list of potential musicians to call, but that's the best I can do. Anna knew what that meant. Her information would go into a drawer and never be looked at again. She'd still go to bed hungry tonight and tomorrow and the day after that. The room suddenly felt too warm, too crowded. The buzz of conversation and clinking silverware too loud. Thank you for your time, she managed to say, turning to leave before anyone could see the tears threatening to spill over. As she made her way back through the restaurant, Anna felt dozens of eyes on her. The beautiful violin in its battered case might as well have been a neon sign, broadcasting her desperation. She walked faster, nearly running by the time she reached the door. The cold air outside was almost a relief after the stifling embarrassment inside. Anna stood under the restaurant's awning, trying to decide what to do next. The drizzle had turned into a steady rain, and she had nowhere to go but her empty room with its empty kitchen. The thought made the tears she'd been holding back finally spill over, mixing with the raindrops on her face. Excuse me, miss? Miss Vasquez, was it? Anna quickly wiped her eyes and turned to find an older woman standing in the doorway of the restaurant. She was small but elegantly dressed in a deep blue suit that matched her silver-streaked hair, which was pulled back in a neat bun. Her face was lined with age, but her dark eyes were sharp and alert. Yes? Anna replied, wondering if the woman was going to scold her for making a scene. I couldn't help overhearing what happened in there. The woman stepped fully outside, letting the door close behind her. My name is Elena Cardona. I teach piano at the Roosevelt University School of Music. Anna blinked in surprise. Roosevelt University had an excellent music program, though not quite as prestigious as the conservatory. It's nice to meet you, Anna said automatically, years of her mother's emphasis on good manners kicking in despite her current state. Elena's gaze dropped to the violin case. Is that your instrument? Anna nodded, unconsciously tightening her grip on the handle. Would you mind playing something for me? Elena asked. Anna stared at her, confused. Here now? In the rain? Elena glanced up at the awning, keeping them dry, then at the busy street around them. Perhaps not ideal conditions, I admit. But I'm curious, and I've always believed talent should be heard. For a moment, Anna hesitated. This could be another opportunity for rejection, another moment of humiliation, but something in Elena's eyes seemed genuinely interested, not mocking. What did she have to lose anyway? Okay, Anna said softly, setting the case down on a dry patch of sidewalk and opening it carefully. The old violin gleamed warmly, even in the dim light from the restaurant windows. Anna lifted it with practiced hands, tucking it under her chin like an old friend. The familiar weight was comforting, grounding. She took out the bow, tightened it, and looked at Elena. Any requests? Elena smiled. Play what speaks to you right now. Anna thought for a moment, then raised her bow. As it touched the strings, the world around her, the rain, the passing cars, her hunger, her shame, seemed to fall away. There was only the music now, flowing through her like a current. She played the opening notes of Vivaldi's Winter from the Four Seasons, the sharp, crisp melody cutting through the night air like icicles. It was a piece that captured the very essence of what she was feeling, the cold, the harshness, but also the strange beauty that could be found even in the darkest season. Anna lost herself in the music, her fingers finding their way across the strings from memory. Each note of Vivaldi's Winter seemed to speak directly to her situation. The biting cold of rejection, the storm of uncertainty swirling around her. Her body swayed slightly as she played, eyes closed, shutting out the rainy Chicago street and the curious glances of passers-by. When she finished the first movement, she opened her eyes to find Elena watching her with an intensity that made Anna's cheeks warm despite the chill. But before the older woman could speak, the door to Bella Luna swung open and Tony the manager stepped out, his expression a mixture of annoyance and curiosity. "What's going on out here?" he demanded, looking between Anna and Elena. "We can hear this all the way inside." Elena turned to him with a raised eyebrow. "And isn't it marvelous? This young lady has extraordinary talent." Tony crossed his arms, seeming less convinced. "Look, you can't just set up outside my restaurant and—" "I was about to invite her to play inside, actually," Elena interrupted smoothly. "At my table." Anna lowered her violin, confused. "Your table?" Elena smiled at her. "I'm having dinner with my nephew and his wife. We're celebrating their anniversary. I think they would enjoy some music with dessert, don't you?" She turned back to Tony. "I assume you have no objection to a paying customer requesting a bit of entertainment." Tony hesitated, clearly caught off guard. "Well, no, but excellent." Elena nodded firmly. "And of course, Anna will join us for dinner." "My treat." Anna's heart leapt at the mention of food, but her pride made her speak up. "I don't want charity," she said quietly. "I want to earn my way." Elena's eyes softened. "Then consider yourself hired for a private performance. One meal seems fair payment for a short recital, wouldn't you agree?" Before Anna could respond, another voice called from the doorway.
"Aunt Elena?"
"Is everything okay out here?" A tall man with kind eyes and Elena's same strong nose peered out at them. He was dressed in a sharp business suit that suggested money, but his expression was warm and unpretentious. "David, perfect timing," Elena said. "I've just hired this young lady to provide music for our celebration. This is Ana Vasquez, a very talented violinist from the conservatory." David looked surprised but pleased. "Really? That sounds wonderful. Kim will love it." Anna felt overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events. Just minutes ago she'd been crying in the rain, and now she was apparently booked for a private performance. She glanced at Tony, who looked like he'd bitten into something sour but couldn't quite spit it out. "I don't think," he began. "It's just at our table," David said easily. "We won't disrupt your other diners." Tony looked between them, clearly calculating the social cost of refusing such a reasonable request from what appeared to be wealthy customers. Finally, he gave a tight nod. "Fine, but keep the volume reasonable." He gave Anna one last skeptical look before turning back inside. Elena smiled triumphantly. "Shall we?" She gestured toward the door. Anna carefully tucked her violin back under her chin. "Thank you," she whispered to Elena as they walked inside. "You didn't have to do this." "I know talent when I hear it," Elena replied simply. "And I've never been able to resist putting pompous young men like that manager in their place." David overheard and chuckled. "Aunt Elena has been fighting that battle since the 1960s. She was the first woman conductor of the Milwaukee Youth Symphony, you know." Anna's eyes widened. "Really, that's amazing." Elena waved a dismissive hand. "Ancient history. Tonight is about you, my dear." They approached a table in the corner where a woman with a warm smile and curly hair was waiting. She looked up with surprise as they approached. "Kim, we have entertainment for dessert," David explained. Pulling out Anna's chair for her, Anna sat down awkwardly, suddenly very aware of her worn jeans and rain-dampened sweater among these well-dressed people. But Kim's smile was genuine as she reached across to shake Anna's hand. "What a lovely surprise. I'm Kim." "Anna," she replied, carefully setting her violin case beside her chair. A waiter appeared almost instantly, looking confused at the addition to the party. Elena spoke before he could question it. "We'll need another setting, please. And Anna will have—" She looked to Anna expectantly. Anna's mouth watered at the sight of the plates on the table. "Anything is fine," she said quietly, embarrassed by how desperate she must seem. "Bring her the special," Elena decided, "and some bread right away." As the waiter hurried off, Anna felt a wave of gratitude so strong it almost brought tears to her eyes again. She blinked them back, determined not to embarrass herself further. "So, Anna," David said conversationally, "Elena mentioned you're from the conservatory?" Anna stared down at the crisp white tablecloth. "I was. I had to leave with one semester left. May I ask why?" Elena's question was gentle, free of judgment. Anna took a deep breath. She never talked about her problems with strangers, but these people had shown her nothing but kindness. "My mom got sick, cancer. There was no one else to help her, so I went home to New Mexico. The medical bills." She trailed off with a small shrug. The table was quiet for a moment. Anna worried she'd made them uncomfortable, but when she looked up, she saw only compassion in their faces. "How is your mother now?" Kim asked softly. "Better. The treatments worked." Anna managed a small smile. "She's in remission." "That's wonderful news," David said warmly. The waiter returned with a basket of warm bread and a small plate of olive oil. Anna tried not to look too eager as Elena pushed the basket toward her. "Please help yourself," Elena insisted. Anna took a piece and dipped it in the oil, trying to eat slowly and politely despite her hunger. The first bite was heaven. Crusty on the outside, soft within, with the rich oil adding flavor that made her close her eyes briefly in appreciation. "So what brought you back to Chicago?" Kim asked, sipping her wine. Anna swallowed her bread before answering. "I was hoping to finish my degree, maybe still make it to some spring auditions. But the money's gone and finding work has been—" She stopped herself from saying more. These kind strangers didn't need to hear all her troubles. Elena studied her thoughtfully. "And that's why you were offering to play for food?" Anna nodded, feeling the heat of embarrassment creep up her neck again. "Not my proudest moment. On the contrary," Elena said firmly. "It shows resourcefulness and dedication to your craft. Many would have pawned that violin weeks ago." Anna looked shocked at the very suggestion. "Never. It was my grandfather's. He taught me to play." A plate of steaming pasta appeared in front of Anna. Thick ribbons of pappardelle with a rich mushroom sauce that smelled divine. Her stomach growled audibly, making Kim smile sympathetically. "Please eat while it's hot," she encouraged. Anna didn't need to be told twice. She took a bite and nearly moaned at the explosion of flavors. After days of nothing but tea and half a granola bar, it was the most delicious thing she'd ever tasted. As she ate, the conversation flowed naturally around her. She learned that David was a lawyer and Kim a pediatrician. They'd been married 5 years today. Elena, she discovered, had retired from teaching full-time, but still gave private lessons and served on the board of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. By the time Anna finished her pasta, she felt human again. The hollow ache in her stomach was gone, replaced by a pleasant fullness and warmth. "That was amazing," she said gratefully. "Thank you so much. You've earned it," Elena reminded her. "And speaking of which, I believe we were promised a performance." Anna nodded, reaching for her violin case. As she stood and prepared her instrument, she noticed several nearby tables watching with interest. Her nerves fluttered briefly. This was a far cry from performing for professors or even at recitals. These people hadn't come for music. They might resent the interruption to their meals. She glanced at Tony, who was watching from near the bar with a frown. The sight of his doubt strengthened her resolve. She would prove him wrong. "Any requests?" she asked the table. "Something romantic," Kim suggested with a smile at her husband. "It is our anniversary." Anna thought for a moment, then nodded. "I know just the thing." She raised her bow and began to play Debussy's Clair de Lune, a piece she'd arranged for violin years ago. The delicate, dreamy melody floated through the restaurant like moonlight on water. Anna kept the volume soft, intimate, but her technique was flawless, each note clear and pure. Conversations at nearby tables gradually quieted as heads turned toward the music. Anna kept her focus on the small family group that had shown her such kindness, playing directly to them, putting all her gratitude into each phrase. When she reached the piece's gentle climax, she noticed Kim leaning her head on David's shoulder, their hands intertwined on the table. Elena watched with shining eyes, a proud smile on her face, and beyond them the entire restaurant had fallen silent. As the final notes faded away, there was a moment of hushed stillness. Then applause broke out, not just from Elena's table, but from throughout the restaurant. Anna blinked in surprise as several diners called out, "Bravo!" and "Encore." She looked over to see Tony standing perfectly still, his previous skepticism replaced by what looked very much like regret. Their eyes met across the room, and he gave her a small, reluctant nod of acknowledgement. "That was beautiful," Kim said, wiping a tear from her eye. "Extraordinary," David agreed. Elena beamed at her. "I think," she said with a meaningful glance around at the applauding diners, "that Tony might be reconsidering his position on hiring musicians." The applause continued as Anna lowered her violin. She felt a rush of emotions, relief, pride, and a spark of hope that had been missing for months. Diners from other tables were smiling at her, some even raising their wine glasses in appreciation. "Another song," someone called from across the restaurant. Anna glanced at Elena, who nodded encouragingly. "Give them what they want, dear." Anna took a deep breath and thought for a moment. The audience seemed captivated by the romantic Debussy piece, but she wanted to show her range. She decided on Paganini's Caprice No. 24, a piece known for its technical difficulty and emotional power. As she launched into the challenging opening notes, Anna felt a familiar calm settle over her. This was what she was born to do. Her fingers flew across the strings with practiced precision, her bow arm steady and sure. The difficult runs and arpeggios that had once taken her hours to master now flowed naturally, as if the music was simply a part of her that needed releasing. From the corner of her eye, she saw Tony approaching their table, his expression unreadable. But she didn't falter, keeping her focus on the music as the complex melody filled the restaurant. When she finished, the applause was even louder than before. Several people had stood up from their tables, and one older gentleman near the front was wiping tears from his eyes. "That was incredible," David said, shaking his head in amazement. "Paganini is notoriously difficult," Elena added, her eyes gleaming with approval. "You played it beautifully." Tony reached their table and cleared his throat. "That was..." He hesitated, seeming to struggle for words. "Very impressive." Anna simply nodded, not trusting herself to speak without letting her lingering resentment show. "Our customers clearly enjoyed it," Tony continued, gesturing to the still murmuring crowd. "I'd like to discuss the possibility of having you play here regularly." He handed Anna a business card. "If you're interested, of course." Before Anna could respond, a middle-aged woman approached from a nearby table. "Excuse me," she said, addressing Anna directly. "That was wonderful. I'm planning my daughter's wedding reception next month, and we've been looking for musicians. Would you be available?" Anna blinked in surprise. Yes, I would. Perfect. Here's my contact information." The woman handed Anna a small notepad and pen. "Write down your details and I'll be in touch about the arrangements and payment." As Anna scribbled her phone number, another diner approached, and then another. Within minutes, a small crowd had gathered around their table. A young couple wanted her for their anniversary party. A businessman needed entertainment for a corporate event. An elderly woman simply wanted to tell Anna that her playing had brought back memories of her late husband, who had loved classical music. Tony stood awkwardly to the side, witnessing the flood of interest. Anna caught his eye and gave him a small, satisfied smile. His earlier laughter seemed a distant memory now. Elena watched it all with the pleased expression of someone whose plan had worked perfectly. When the crowd finally dispersed, she turned to Anna. "It seems you've made quite an impression." Anna looked down at the collection of business cards and notes in front of her, feeling slightly dazed. "I never expected this." "Talent always finds its audience," Elena said simply. "You just needed the right opportunity to be heard." The waiter appeared with dessert, rich chocolate, torties for the table, and a special tiramisu that Elena insisted Anna try. "You've more than earned it," she said, waving away Anna's protests. As they enjoyed their desserts, Elena leaned forward with a thoughtful expression. "Anna, may I ask you something? What would you do if you could go back to the conservatory? Would you finish your degree?" Anna nodded without hesitation. "Of course. Music is all I've ever wanted to do, and I was so close." She sighed, looking down at her half-eaten tiramisu. "But the tuition, the housing costs, it's impossible right now." Even with these new opportunities, it would take months to save enough. Elena exchanged a look with David, some unspoken communication passing between them. David raised his eyebrows but then nodded slightly. What if I told you there might be another way? Elena asked carefully. What do you mean? Roosevelt University, where I teach, has a special scholarship program for musicians in exactly your situation. Talented students who had to interrupt their education due to financial or family emergencies. Anna's heart skipped a beat. Really? Really, Elena confirmed. It's competitive, of course, but with your talent. She let the sentence hang in the air. The spring semester starts in January. Applications are due in 3 weeks. I don't know what to say, Anna whispered, hope and fear battling within her. The conservatory and Roosevelt have different programs. I'd have to transfer credits, start over with new professors. Sometimes a detour leads to exactly where you need to be. Elena said gently, and Roosevelt has excellent connections with the Chicago Symphony, you know. Her eyes twinkled. I might know a few people there. Kim, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. You should at least apply, Anna. What's the worst that could happen? And in the meantime, David added, you've got quite a few potential gigs lined up. He gestured to the collection of business cards. Plus Tony's offer to play here. Anna glanced over to where Tony was now speaking with a waiter, occasionally looking in their direction. I'm not sure I want to work for someone who laughed at me, Elena chuckled. Oh, I think he's learned his lesson. Besides, regular work is regular work, and this place has excellent food. She pushed the last of her chocolate torte toward Anna. Try this. It's divine. Anna took a small bite of the rich dessert, savoring the bittersweet chocolate that seemed to mirror her current situation, the bitterness of the past few months balanced by the unexpected sweetness of this evening. Thank you, she said finally, looking at each of them. For everything. The food, the opportunity, the advice. I don't know how to repay you. Play, Elena said simply. That's payment enough. As they finished their desserts, David insisted on covering the entire bill, waving away Anna's embarrassed protests. Consider it our anniversary gift to ourselves, the pleasure of discovering a remarkable talent. When they finally stood to leave, Anna carefully packed away her violin, feeling a strange mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. The emotional roller coaster of the evening had left her drained but hopeful. Outside, the rain had stopped and the night air felt clean and full of possibility. David and Kim said their goodbyes, heading off toward the parking garage, but Elena lingered. Where are you staying? She asked Anna. Anna hesitated, reluctant to admit the truth about her tiny sublet with its leaky ceiling and unreliable heat. Just a temporary place on the north side. Elena studied her face for a moment, seeming to read between the lines. I have a spare room, you know. My house is much too big for just me, and it has excellent acoustics for practicing. You'd be doing me a favor, really, keeping an old woman company. Anna shook her head, overwhelmed by the offer. I couldn't impose like that. Nonsense, Elena said briskly. It's not an imposition if it's an invitation. And it would be temporary, just until you get on your feet. She held up a hand to stop Anna's protests. At least come see the place. If you don't like it, no pressure. Anna wavered, torn between pride and practicality. The thought of a warm, quiet place to sleep and practice was incredibly tempting. You don't even know me, she said finally. Elena smiled, the streetlights reflecting in her wise eyes. I know enough. I know you're talented, hardworking, and devoted to your family. I know you'd rather play for your supper than ask for handouts. And I know what it's like to be young and struggling in this business. Her voice softened. Everyone needs help sometimes, Anna. Even the most talented musicians don't make it alone. Anna thought of her mother, who had accepted help from neighbors and church friends during her illness. She'd been embarrassed at first, but had eventually realized that allowing others to help wasn't weakness. It was part of being in a community. Just to see the place? She asked cautiously. Just to see, Elena agreed. My car's this way. As they walked toward the parking lot, Anna glanced back at Bella Luna. Through the windows, she could see diners still enjoying their meals. The warm glow a stark contrast to how she'd felt standing outside just hours ago. Cold, hungry, and hopeless. Sometimes life changes in an instant, Elena said, following Anna's gaze. One moment, one decision, one piece of music can alter everything. Anna nodded, thinking of all the moments that had led her here. Her grandfather teaching her violin, her mother's illness, her decision to come back to Chicago, and finally, her desperate choice to ask Tony if she could play for food. I almost didn't come in, she admitted quietly. I almost walked away. Elena smiled. But you didn't. That courage is as important as your talent. They reached a sleek blue sedan and Elena unlocked it with a press of a button. As Anna carefully placed her violin in the back seat, she felt something shift inside her. A weight lifting, a door opening. Whatever happened next, whether she got the scholarship, made a living playing gigs, or found another path entirely, she knew this night had changed her. Not just because of the opportunities that had suddenly appeared, but because she'd remembered who she was. She wasn't just a struggling student or a desperate daughter or a hungry musician willing to play for food. She was Ana Vasquez. And she could play. Elena's house turned out to be a beautiful brownstone in a quiet neighborhood near Lincoln Park. As she unlocked the front door and led Anna inside, the young violinist tried not to stare too obviously at the high ceilings, wooden floors, and walls covered with framed concert posters and photographs. It's not much, but it's home, Elena said with a smile that suggested she knew exactly how impressive the place was. It's beautiful, Anna replied honestly, still clutching her violin case like a lifeline as she followed Elena through a spacious living room, dominated by a grand piano. Music room, Elena explained, noticing Anna's gaze. Best acoustics in the house. She ran her hand lovingly over the piano's polished surface. Steinway, my one extravagance when I retired. Anna spotted photographs on top of the piano, Elena with various groups of students. Elena shaking hands with a famous conductor Anna recognized from her textbooks. Elena standing proudly next to a much younger woman holding a violin. My daughter, Lucia, Elena said, following Anna's gaze. She plays with the San Francisco Symphony now. You must be very proud. I am. Elena's voice softened. Music has given both of us so much. She shook herself slightly as if remembering why they were there. Now let me show you the guest room. She led Anna up a narrow staircase to the second floor. The guest room was small but charming, with a comfortable-looking bed, a desk by the window, and a bookshelf filled with music scores. Bathrooms across the hall, Elena explained. Kitchen's always open. I'm an early riser, but I don't mind if you practice late. She hesitated, studying Anna's face. What do you think? Anna looked around the room again, trying to process everything that had happened in the last few hours. This morning, she'd woken up in a drafty room with no food and no prospects. Now she was standing in a beautiful home with a possible scholarship opportunity and several potential paying gigs. It seemed too good to be true. I don't understand, she said finally, turning to face Elena. Why are you doing all this for me? You don't even know me. Elena was quiet for a moment, her eyes distant as if seeing something from long ago. 52 years ago I was you, she said simply. A young musician with talent but no money, no connections. I'd come to Chicago from a tiny town in northern Michigan, where my father worked in a paper mill and my mother cleaned houses. I'd taught myself piano on an old upright at the local church. She walked to the window, looking out at the quiet street. I was ready to give up, go back home. Then I met a professor from Northwestern, who heard me playing at a hotel where I worked as a maid. He offered me lessons, helped me apply for scholarships. Elena turned back to Anna with a gentle smile. I'm not doing anything special, my dear. I'm just passing along what was given to me. Anna felt tears prickling behind her eyes but blinked them away. I'll pay you rent as soon as I start making money. We'll discuss that later, Elena said with a dismissive wave. For now, get settled in. There are clean towels in the bathroom cabinet, and I'll find you something to sleep in. Anna's phone buzzed in her pocket, a rare occurrence these days since she'd stopped being able to afford going out with friends. She pulled it out and was surprised to see a text from a number she didn't recognize. This is Tony from Bella Luna, it read. Can you play tomorrow night, 7:10? $200 plus tips. Anna stared at the message, then wordlessly handed the phone to Elena. Elena read it and grinned. Well, seems someone had a change of heart. She handed the phone back. Are you going to take it? Anna thought about the satisfaction of proving Tony wrong, the practical need for income, and the perfect practice it would provide for her scholarship audition. Yes, she replied, typing a quick confirmation. I think I will. Good, Elena said. Now get some rest. Tomorrow's the first day of your new life. Anna woke the next morning to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar curtains and the distant sound of piano music drifting up the stairs. For a moment she was disoriented. But then the events of the previous night came flooding back. She'd been so exhausted that she'd fallen asleep immediately in the comfortable bed, still wearing the borrowed nightgown Elena had given her. Now, feeling refreshed for the first time in weeks, she got up and quickly dressed in yesterday's clothes, making a mental note to retrieve her few belongings from the sublet room later. Downstairs, she found Elena at the piano, her fingers dancing through a Bach prelude with effortless grace. The older woman looked up and smiled as Anna entered. "Good morning. There's coffee in the kitchen and I made some eggs and toast. Help yourself." Anna thanked her and followed the delicious smell to the kitchen, where she found a plate kept warm in the oven and a fresh pot of coffee. As she ate, she scrolled through her phone, responding to the messages from potential clients who'd approached her at the restaurant. By the time she finished breakfast, she'd scheduled 3 more paying gigs for the coming week. "I need to go get my things," she told Elena when she returned to the music room, "and I should probably practice for tonight." Elena nodded. "Take my spare key, and feel free to use the music room when you get back." She paused, her expression becoming more serious. "There's something else we should discuss. The Roosevelt Scholarship application." Anna sat down on the piano bench next to Elena. "I was thinking about that. It's a wonderful opportunity, but you're worried about leaving your conservatory credits behind." Elena finished for her. "Yes. I worked so hard there." "I understand." Elena tapped a thoughtful finger on the piano keys without pressing them down. "What if I told you there might be a way to finish both? The credits could transfer, and with some extra coursework." Anna's eyes widened. "Is that possible?" "Anything's possible with the right approach. Let me make some calls. The Dean of Music at Roosevelt is an old friend." Elena's eyes twinkled. "One of the perks of getting old is having friends in useful places." Anna laughed, feeling lighter than she had in months. "Thank you. For everything. Don't thank me yet. You've got work to do. That scholarship audition will be highly competitive." "I'll practice every day," Anna promised. "What pieces do you think I should prepare?" They spent the next hour discussing repertoire options, with Elena offering suggestions based on her knowledge of the scholarship committee's preferences. By the time Anna left to collect her belongings, she had a clear plan for both her audition and the upcoming gigs. Anna's small sublet room felt even more depressing after Elena's beautiful home. She quickly packed her few possessions, mostly clothes and music scores, into her backpack. The landlord hardly noticed when she told him she was moving out, just grunting and holding out his hand for the key. Back at Elena's, Anna spent the afternoon practicing in the music room, working through her planned repertoire for that evening. The hours flew by, and before she knew it, it was time to get ready for her first real paying gig. "Wear this," Elena said, appearing in the doorway with a simple black dress. It was Lucia's when she was about your size. Every musician needs a performance outfit. The dress fit perfectly, transforming Anna from a struggling student to a professional performer. Elena lent her a pair of small pearl earrings to complete the look. "Now you're ready," she said with satisfaction, studying Anna's reflection in the hallway. Tony's expression when Anna walked into Bella Luna that evening was priceless, a mixture of surprise at her transformation and embarrassment at his previous dismissal. "You look professional," he managed, showing her to a small platform that had been set up in the corner of the restaurant. "We advertised your performance on our social media. We're fully booked tonight." Anna set up her music stand, tuned her violin, and took a deep breath as the first diners began to arrive. This wasn't just a meal ticket anymore. It was the beginning of her career. As she began to play, she noticed several faces she recognized from the night before, regulars who had come back specifically to hear her. By the middle of her first set, the restaurant was packed, with people standing near the bar area just to listen. During her break, a young woman approached her table. "I'm a music blogger," she explained, handing Anna a card. "Would you mind if I recorded a bit of your performance for my site? You're amazing." News of the talented violinist spread quickly. By the end of the week, Anna had played 3 more nights at Bella Luna, performed at David and Kim's dinner party for their friends, and been hired for 2 weddings. Her tip jar overflowed each night, and Tony had already asked about a regular weekend spot with increased pay. But more important than the money was the joy Anna felt playing again. not just practicing alone in a room, but sharing her music with appreciative audiences. She'd forgotten how much she loved the connection. The way she could feel a room full of strangers united by the magic she created with her grandfather's old violin. On Sunday night, after her 5th performance at Bella Luna, Anna returned to Elena's house to find the older woman waiting up for her, a thick envelope in her hands. "It came," Elena said simply, holding it out. Anna recognized the Roosevelt University logo in the corner. Her hands trembled slightly as she took the envelope. The scholarship application, and something more. Elena's eyes were bright with excitement. "Open it." Inside was not just the scholarship application, but a letter from the Dean of Music himself, inviting Anna to meet with him about a special joint program between Roosevelt and the Chicago Conservatory. According to the letter, Elena had sent him a video recording of Anna's performance at Bella Luna, and he had been impressed enough to suggest this unprecedented opportunity. "You recorded me?" Anna asked, stunned. Elena shrugged, not looking the least bit guilty. "David did, actually. On my phone. I hope you don't mind." Anna read further in the letter, her heart racing. It says, "They might be able to create a custom program where I finish my conservatory degree while starting graduate studies at Roosevelt." "Keep reading," Elena urged. "With a full scholarship for both," Anna whispered, hardly daring to believe the words. "And a stipend for living expenses." She looked up at Elena, who was watching her with the satisfied expression of someone seeing their plans come perfectly to fruition. "How did you do this?" "I didn't," Elena said simply. "You did with your playing. I just made sure the right people heard it." Anna carefully set the letter down on the coffee table, too overwhelmed to speak. 1 week ago, she'd been at her lowest point, hungry, desperate, and humiliated. Now her future stretched before her, full of possibilities she'd thought were lost forever. "Sometimes," Elena said softly, "all it takes is one person to believe in you, and the courage to play, even when they laugh." 6 months later, Anna stood in the wings of the Roosevelt University auditorium, violin in hand, waiting for her cue. The spring recital was the biggest event of the semester, and as the recipient of the prestigious Joint Scholarship Program, she had been given the honor of performing the closing piece. "Nervous?" a voice asked behind her. Anna turned to find Elena, elegant in a deep purple dress, her silver hair swept up in its customary bun. "A little," Anna admitted. "It's a big crowd." Through a gap in the curtains, she could see the packed auditorium. The front row held the university president, the dean of music, and several donors whose generous contributions funded scholarships like hers. But more importantly to Anna, her mother was out there too, having flown in from New Mexico for the occasion. "You've played for bigger audiences now," Elena reminded her. It was true. In the month since that fateful night at Bella Luna, Anna's career had taken off in ways she couldn't have imagined. Her regular weekend performances at the restaurant had become so popular that they now required reservations weeks in advance. She'd played at society weddings, corporate events, and even a small but prestigious chamber music series. Just last month, she'd been invited to audition for the Chicago Philharmonic's Young Artists program. The results hadn't been announced yet, but Elena, who had connections everywhere, had heard whispers that Anna was a top contender. "Different kind of pressure," Anna said, peering through the curtain again. "My mom's never heard me play in a formal concert like this before. And the dean will be impressed, just like everyone else who hears you." Elena finished firmly. She reached out to straighten Anna's collar. "Remember what I told you on your first night at Bella Luna?" Anna smiled. "That talent always finds its audience." "Exactly. Now go show them what you can do." The stage manager appeared, signaling that it was time. Anna took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and walked onto the stage. The bright lights momentarily blinded her, but she found her mark easily, bowing to the appreciative applause. As she lifted her violin to her chin, her eyes found her mother in the third row, looking both nervous and immensely proud. Next to her sat David and Kim, who had become good friends over the past months, and there in the front row was the dean, watching with keen interest. Anna closed her eyes briefly, centering herself. When she opened them, she began to play. She had chosen Mendelssohn's Violin Concerto for her performance, accompanied by the university's orchestra. It was a challenging piece, showcasing both technical skill and emotional depth. As the familiar notes flowed through her, Anna felt the usual sense of calm purpose that came with performing. But there was something more tonight, a profound gratitude for the journey that had brought her here. 6 months ago, she'd stood outside a restaurant in the rain, wondering if she'd have to sell her beloved violin just to eat. Now she was here, playing one of the most beautiful concertos ever written, with a bright future ahead of her. When the final notes faded away, there was a moment of perfect silence before the audience erupted into applause. Anna bowed, smiling as several people rose to their feet. The standing ovation spread quickly, and soon the entire auditorium was on its feet. As the applause continued, the dean himself came onto the stage with a bouquet of flowers. "Extraordinary," he said as he handed them to her. "We're very fortunate to have you in our program." After the performance, there was a reception in the university's grand foyer. Anna found herself surrounded by well-wishers, including several of her professors and classmates. "That was beautiful, honey," her mother said when she finally made her way through the crowd. Maria Vasquez looked healthier than she had in years, the cancer treatments now well behind her. She hugged Anna tightly. "Your grandfather would have been so proud." "I felt him with me today," Anna said softly, touching the violin that had once been his. "Every time I play—" "Anna," Elena called, making her way over with a tall, distinguished-looking man beside her. "There's someone I'd like you to meet. This is Robert Chen, concertmaster of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra." Anna tried not to look too starstruck as she shook hands with one of the most respected violinists in the country. "Ms. Vasquez," he said with a warm smile, "Elena has been singing your praises for months. Now I see why. That was a remarkable performance." "Thank you, sir," Anna replied, her heart racing. "That means a lot coming from you." "The symphony has a fellowship opening for next season," he said, getting straight to the point. "Highly competitive, of course, but based on what I heard today, I'd encourage you to apply. It would be part-time, allowing you to complete your studies while getting professional orchestral experience." Anna stared at him, momentarily speechless. The Chicago Symphony Fellowship was one of the most prestigious opportunities for young musicians in the country. I would be honored to apply," she managed finally. "Excellent. Elena has my contact information. We'll look forward to your audition." With a nod and a smile, he moved on to speak with the dean. "Did that just happen?" Anna whispered to Elena once he was out of earshot. "It did," Elena confirmed, looking pleased. "And it's just the beginning, my dear." The reception continued around them, but Anna suddenly needed a moment of quiet to process everything. She slipped away from the crowd and found a small alcove near one of the large windows overlooking the city. Chicago's lights twinkled in the darkness. The same city that had seemed so cold and unwelcoming just 6 months ago. Now it felt like home. "There you are," said a familiar voice. Anna turned to see Tony from Bella Luna approaching with a glass of champagne in each hand. He'd become a surprising ally in recent months, proudly telling anyone who would listen that he had discovered Anna. "Thought you might need this?" he said, offering her one of the glasses. "Great performance tonight. Thanks." Anna accepted the champagne with a smile. "Shouldn't you be at the restaurant?" "Saturday night is usually packed. Left Miguel in charge. Couldn't miss my star performer's big night." He clinked his glass against hers. "Besides, I wanted to talk to you about something." Anna raised an eyebrow, curious. "Oh? We're opening a second location downtown," Tony explained. "More upscale with a focus on live music. I'd like you to be our featured performer for the grand opening next month. And maybe a regular spot after that if you're interested. The pay would be significantly better than what you're getting now." "That's amazing, Tony. Congratulations on the expansion." "So you'll do it?" Anna thought about her increasingly busy schedule, classes, practice, performances, and now potentially a symphony fellowship audition to prepare for. "Let me check my calendar," she said diplomatically. "It sounds like a great opportunity." Tony nodded, understanding the unspoken message that she couldn't commit on the spot. "You're going places, Anna. Just don't forget us little people when you're famous." She laughed. "As if you'd let me." After Tony wandered back to the reception, Anna stayed by the window, reflecting on how quickly life could change. 6 months. That was all it had taken to go from desperation to standing here, champagne in hand, with more opportunities than she could have dreamed of. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Where are you?" "Elena wants to take us all to dinner." Anna smiled and texted back that she'd be right there. As she turned to leave her quiet corner, she noticed a young woman watching her from across the room. Something in the girl's expression, a mixture of admiration and uncertainty, struck Anna as familiar. She crossed the room, drawn by some instinct she couldn't quite name. "Hello?" Anna said gently. "Are you a student here?" The girl nodded, clutching a flute case nervously. "First year." "That was an amazing performance." "Thank you." Anna gestured to the case. "Are you a flutist?" "Trying to be." The girl looked down. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm good enough. The scholarship only covers part of my tuition, and I'm working 2 jobs to make up the difference. It's hard." Anna felt a wave of déjà vu so strong it nearly took her breath away. "What's your name?" "Lily," the girl said. "Lily Zhao." "Well, Lily," Anna said, making a decision, "how would you like a job playing at an Italian restaurant? The pay is good, the food is excellent, and the audience is very appreciative." Lily's eyes widened. "Really? But I don't have any professional experience. Neither did I 6 months ago." Anna smiled, thinking of Elena and the circle of kindness that had changed her life. "Sometimes all you need is someone to give you a chance." "I don't know what to say," Lily stammered. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet," Anna said, echoing Elena's words from months ago. "You'll have to audition for the manager first. But I have a feeling you'll do just fine." She handed Lily one of the business cards she now carried, simple white cards with her name and contact information, a far cry from the hastily scribbled phone number she'd given out that first night at Bella Luna. "Call me tomorrow," Anna told her. "We'll set something up." As Lily walked away, clutching the card like a lifeline, Anna felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to find Elena watching her with knowing eyes. "Passing it along already?" the older woman asked. Anna smiled. "It seemed like the right thing to do." "It is." Elena linked her arm through Anna's. "That's how music survives, you know. Not just in concert halls and recordings, but in the chain of hands that lift each other up." She led Anna back toward the reception, where her mother, David, and Kim were waiting. "Now come eat. Your mother's been telling me about a new Mexican dish she wants to teach me to make." Anna followed, violin case in one hand, flowers in the other, surrounded by people who believed in her. The girl who had once been laughed at for asking to play for food had found not just an audience but a community, a purpose and a future bright with promise, and somewhere, she knew, her grandfather was smiling.